Complex legislation such as this needs broad consensus. It needs conversation on a wide scale to find a way to create an opportunity to work together so that we don't create a bill, intentionally or unintentionally, a bill that would change or improve and advance one interest to the broad detriment of another. And I know the best bills have a little bit of discomfort on either side. And today we're talking about a bill designed to reform policing in this state, to change the stakes for 99% of the good police officers who work with their heart and soul each and every day to do the right thing. Every day that they go to work under circumstances that most of us wouldn't chance. Yet I'm not sure that the discussion was broad enough to bring them in and have the provisions and the consequences and the effects of some of the provisions in this bill of what would happen to policing moving forward. Because I believe in that change must happen, and I believe that most of the officers that I've spoken to, and I too have spoken to police chiefs and rank and file and retired and leaders and people here, most of the officers that I've spoken to have all said, yes, we can do things differently. We should do things differently. Yes, I can support change as a police officer. Yes, I hate to be painted with the broad brush of brutality and negligence and abuse of power that the smallest percentage of officers who abuse their powers act and behave. It embarrasses them. It disrespects them. Yet I believe this bill should have had a broader audience. It should have had more opportunity for conversation. It should have had more committee involvement, more public hearings other than being online. My particular concern is of the section with regard to qualified immunity. I heard your passion just a few moments ago. And I believe this qualified immunity protects the good officers. I think the bad things get taken care of. But I'm concerned about the long-term effects, perhaps the unintended consequences of what's going to happen if qualified immunity is removed in the way that it's contemplated in this bill. I believe that the tendency would be to have our streets be less safe than they are, to have our communities to be less safe than they are. And I don't believe that's the intent of this bill, and I certainly don't believe that the people who crafted this bill want that or believe that that might happen. I just think that it is an unintended consequence. And I agree there are many things we must do to fight and right these wrongs that are happening in this country. We must safeguard our streets. We must end racism. And we must work and begin to rebuild trust amongst each other and amongst our communities. We must change how we treat each other. And while I cannot feel the direct pain of prejudice that people of color have felt or do feel, I can say I'm learning about the depths of that pain, about how the subtleties of that pain can be inflicted, sometimes even unknowingly inflicted. Mr. President, I say I'm learning. And I can tell you that I have a wonderful teacher, the most genuine, honorable, hardworking, loving, and principled young man that I've ever met. A young man who happens to be of color, but who I'm extraordinarily grateful and proud that has joined our family. and that my daughter loves more than anything, and he loves her the same way. So this is personal to me. We were not racist in our family. We don't see that. But in conversations with this young man, we've talked about the subtle comments and the discomfort in the education system that he felt, and the concerns that he has about potentially being the target from abuse of authority. This is a brilliant young man. And I have 3 daughters and a son. And I can stand here today telling you that I want my black grandbabies to have the same freedom from fear that my white grandbabies do. We need change. But I believe this section, if it remains in the bill, it will affect the long-term safety of not only my family, but of our streets and of the community. I believe that because I believe that the consequences of this section will cause us to lose police officers. Lose police officers to retirements before their time, stripping departments of crucial veteran leadership that we need to depend on to manifest change. I believe the recruitment of new young officers who will be the lifeblood of change, that recruitment will become more challenging as a result of the provisions in this bill. Is who would sign up to go to work every day when you risk your life, and now you're asked to risk your livelihood as a result of this bill? Their homes. And I believe that may be the unintended consequence here. And what happens when police presence is reduced? In New York City, just recently reduced their budgets, and one of the items cut was a street crimes unit that was in plain clothes and patrol, and everybody knew who they were, but their job was to keep the streets safe. And since the elimination of that street crimes unit, violent crime is up over 100% in a matter of weeks. Not violent crime from police officers, but from the criminals who will take advantage wherever they can and won't care who they hurt, who they kill, who they rob. They're just criminals, and they take advantage. I want to vote for reform. I want to be a part of reform. The other provisions in this bill, I believe there are some that can be improved. I feel the discomfort there, but I can compromise on those. But I believe the loss of the qualified immunities will change policing for the worse, making our streets less safe in the long run for all my grandbabies and yours. I think we should do whatever it takes to weed out the bad cops, to weed out the rotten thinking and the abusive officers. I think we should do whatever it takes to train those good cops the techniques they need to treat everyone fairly and with respect. Let's do whatever it takes so that all the police officers that are on the job can be successful. And we need to give them the tools so that they strive every day to do the right thing. Those cops who hate how abusive officers have tarnished their reputations, let's give them the tools. Let's not tie their hands. Let's not handcuff their ability to succeed. In conclusion, Mr. President, I want to talk about another man of integrity that I know, a man of great moral character, and a man who spends his day as a state trooper doing the right thing always, for the right reasons, every day. I had the great privilege to work with this man for a number of years. I worked every day, and every day I watched how he served our community and our state. Full of compassion, tough, toe the line, do the job. But he is such a role model. He is such a man of character that his two boys are following in his footprints and are both currently involved in the academy, learning, training to be troopers. They want to serve as their dad does, for all the right reasons. And I believe this is the family this provision in this bill will hurt. Yet this is the family I want on the job. This is the family I believe we should all want on the job. So that when my son and my daughter and my grandbabies are walking the street of their neighborhood, they're safe. They feel safe. Especially when they encounter people of authority, police officers. And I believe this provision will put that at risk and make our state less safe. And slow the reforms that we so desperately need. Mr. President, I want to again thank you for the opportunity to stand here and share my thoughts. Thank you, Senator, for your hard work. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Formica.